Okay, going to try this one more time. We are moving forward into the research paper. This is the type of assignment you're going to see a lot of in college, unless you're a math major or maybe a music major. There's almost every class is going to require some kind of research assignment. So, you need to understand that a research assignment is not a simple assignment. The essay is going to take you a lot of time and there's a lot of work involved. It is not something you can procrastinate on. So, the first thing you need to do, the teacher is going to come in and give you the assignment, explain what is expected of you. They're going to give you maybe a handout or something like this, where there's going to be something on Blackboard telling you what the requirements are. And one of the main things is going to be the topic. So if you're, say, in a nursing class, the topic might be something about advancements in DNA research or something like that. Well, it sounds pretty simple up front when you look at those topics and say, oh, I could do that, that's alright. Usually these topics are pretty broad and they cover a lot of ground. You cannot write a 3 to 4 or a 4 to 5 page paper and cover everything under that topic. You've got to narrow your focus. That's the first step in the research paper. You've got to come up with something smaller that you can describe in detail within the 4 to 5 pages. We don't want a general oversight like the last essay you did. This time we want you to get down to the nitty-gritty specifics. So, now you need to develop a thesis statement. The difference between a topic statement and a thesis statement. A topic statement just says, hey, here's what I'm going to talk about. A thesis statement says, this is what I'm going to prove. By the end of this essay, you will know the following. So, think about what it is that you want to accomplish by the end of your essay. That's going to be your thesis. Alright, so you have a topic, and you've narrowed it down, you've got a better focus. What are you going to do from there? Well, you have to start locating material. Well, this gets frustrating. This is the longest, hardest part of the essay. So you should pick your topic pretty darn quick. As fast as the teacher has given you the concept, get your topic. Have thought it through. Within 24 hours, be ready to start researching. Now, what counts as source material? Well, obviously, we're going to do some research on the computer. You can use articles, which are found in databases. You can go and actually pull a book and look at that. There's a lot of information in books. You can do a personal interview with people. You can go to websites. Websites are dangerous. We'll talk a lot more about that later. And you can also use video. You can look at video biographies, or oh, the word's escaping me right now. Oh shoot, those movies that are just about, oh gosh, I can't think of the word. This is annoying me. Anyway, but there's you can watch those things that just tell you about specific things. It's not a plot. It's not for entertainment. It's for information, and I can't remember. Documentary. There it is. Yes, you can watch a documentary. So, when you're looking through here, you have to figure out what's useful and what's not useful. The big thing that you have to be thinking about is it academic? What do I mean by academic? I'm going to change our vision here for a moment. Okay, but actually I kind of skipped something. I forgot to mention that when you get started, you should try to think about 3 or 4 focusing ideas, 4 controlling ideas. I'll talk about this a little bit more later, but let's say that you're in the nursing program and you're doing some research on, your teacher has told you to do something about the changes in DNA, and you've decided to go for stem cells. Okay, what specifically is it you want to say about stem cells? That's your controlling ideas. That stem cells are being looked at as ways to repair damaged organs or replace damaged organs. That they might even possibly be used to replace damaged limbs or lost limbs. So that right there you've got 2 controlling ideas. The third controlling idea is that unfortunately we really don't understand how they work. So your third idea would be specifically, what do they do? So you see, you're thinking about, these are some specific things I need to find out about. while I'm researching. I need to find this information, because you're going to find a ton of information. You're going to find all kinds of things that won't necessarily relate to what you're doing, and you're going to find a lot of things that relate to what you're doing but aren't really within your focus, aren't answering your thesis question. You've got to be able to separate all that out. You want to look at primary sources. And what's a primary source? That is first-hand experience. This is someone who did the research originally and developed this technology, or someone who has first-hand experience using the technology or the information. They went out and found this stuff. They worked with it. They know firsthand. They've experienced it. Secondary, these are people who do interviews. They go and find your primary person and say, hey, you've got a lot of great information. How about you tell me and I will translate it for my readers? You want to stay away from the tertiary. Tertiary are at least 3 steps removed, possibly 4 or 5, even more. The problem is the further you get away from the originator, the lower the quality of the material, because with each step away, this person understands a little bit less than the first person. So this person knows it perfectly. This person does the interview and says, I understand pretty much what you're talking about. Get to this person. Now what's happening with tertiary sources is usually they're using primarily secondary sources. They're not even going as far back as primary. So they're taking what this person said and saying, I kind of understand what that person's saying. So it's like photocopying something. I take a photocopy, I make a photocopy of it, then I take that photocopy, I make a photocopy of that, then I take that photocopy and make a photo. With each new photocopy, it goes down in quality until eventually you just got a fuzzy image. You might do this when you're cutting and pasting pictures on the internet. You notice that the quality starts going down after a while. It's the same thing here. The further away you get from the original, the less precise the information is going to be, and after a while it's going to be just flat out wrong or misleading, and also bias tends to start creeping in at this point. People writing the tertiary versions aren't really interested in just giving you information. They've got an agenda, and so bias tends to slip in. So you're not even sure that you're getting all the information. Now, another problem is this one. I'm going to skip from it. Academic and authoritative sources. What does that mean? An authoritative source is someone like our primary source. This is someone who really knows what they're talking about. This person did the original research. This person built that. This person lived it. This person was there when it happened. Okay? This person really knows this stuff. That's whom you want to go to. Academic just means that it was written specifically for students and teachers. There are a lot of professors who that's all they do. They work at a college, but they almost never teach classes because they're doing research or developing things, and they're writing essays and papers and such and publishing them. If you've watched Big Bang Theory, that's what Leonard and his friends all do. They are academics working for a college who don't teach. Their job is to develop new information and publish it, put it out there. So you're looking for these academic sources, these people who are writing things specifically for other people in their field, who are writing for students to read. Here's where the problem comes in doing research, Google versus the library. Google is open to everybody. Everything gets put out there. So you're going to be dealing with an awful lot of this tertiary stuff. In fact, you're going to be dealing with quaternary, quintiary, sextiary, septiary. I mean, you're just going to be getting, you've seen it. People cut and paste from one source into their site, then they cut and paste it to another site. The stuff gets repeated all over the place. You know that you've looked at one thing and you look at the next site and it's the exact same information was on the previous site, because they're all stealing from each other. Google can be very dangerous. There's great information on Google. Don't get me wrong. Feel free to look at Google, but be cautious. Know that most of what you're going to find on Google is not aimed at student research. On our library, on the other hand, goes out of its way to make sure that everything that gets in there is academic and authoritative. You can trust the information in our library database. Okay. That being said, let me go back to this. So you've gotten a better idea of what's useful and not useful. I'll go back to the whole Google and library thing a little bit later. Alright, you've done your research, at least your first attack at the research. You've got a decent amount of information, you're ready to get started. First thing you want to worry about is something called plagiarism. I'll talk about that, unfortunately, to the point where you're nauseous about it. We want to avoid this right now. Just understand that you don't want to just be cutting and pasting. You want to be able to write your own thoughts and ideas. The rough draft is where you're going to organize your concepts. You're going to look at where you're going to need to put in quotes, where you need to use source material versus just your own way of speaking. Save your introduction and conclusion till last. They are the hardest things to write. Don't worry about them in the rough draft phase. Okay? They're probably they're going to do them after you feel like everything else is perfect. And again, we'll talk about this more later. So this, first of all, the research is going to take you the longest. It takes you a long time to dig through and find really good usable sources. It could take you a whole week to find things. It may take you longer than a week. You have to look at what your deadline is. If you've got 2 weeks to do this in, note that you have to get this done within that first week, because you're going to need the second week to write your rough draft, then to go back and check, and this is the big thing, check and make sure you have all the resource materials you need. You're going to write that first draft and you're going to stop on page 3 and realize, I have to have 2 more pages of information. Or, I was writing this and realized that I forgot to talk about such and such. There's a big amount of information I skipped. I better go back and find it. So then we go back to the research stage and start digging out that information. But fortunately, this time around, you know exactly what you're looking for. It should come a lot quicker. Then finally, we've got a rough draft written. We've cleaned it up. It's pretty well organized. We start worrying about, and this is the thing that you can put off to the last minute. Is it in the proper format? Is it following the directions as to how it's supposed to look? You do a quick read over it. Does it say what you want it to say? Did you forget something? Did you babble too much about something like, oh my gosh, I just keep saying the same thing over and over again? This is vitally important. Did you prove your thesis? Did I say what people need to know to be able to understand what I'm talking about here? The last thing you really want to do is go through and check for grammar and spelling, and the best way to do that really is to have somebody else do it, because we miss our own mistakes. Then the last thing you're going to do is, when you finalize it, you're going to do your citation page. Make sure your citation page is perfect and all your citations are properly noted within the essay. This takes a lot of time. This probably is going to take you a good 12 or more hours. So don't think that you can wait till the night before to write this essay. It's not going to happen. Right. Oh, and this is just the same thing, just written in paragraph form as opposed to outline form. Okay. Oh, one thing I did want to point out right here. What's very important is that your professor wants to see that when you did this research, you learned and understood something. They do not want to see that you're just simply parroting and repeating what someone else said. So any idiot can go out there and take an article and copy information out of the article. We don't want to see that. We want to see that you learned and understood something. So it's very important that you phrase it in your own words. Give us your view on the whole thing. Okay. That is our approach to the research paper. So there's our introduction. Tune into the next video and I will give you the specifics on your first research assignment.